a whole half an hour plus, probably a little bit more, Reverend Mary. So she rolled her eyes heavenward. I think she's asking for divine guidance. Trust me, we all do that. And for many of you who know our wonderful Reverend Mary Garry, you have known her as Reverend Tom Garry's wife. You've known her as being president and helping at UCM. You've known her at helping out with a lot of the silent auctions for UCM. You've enjoyed her presence in whatever you're doing. She's one of those people that she is honest with her affections and who she thinks you are. Isn't that nice? If you can say, Mary, do you think that's okay? And she'll say, well, maybe you could have done it a little bit differently. I love that honesty in people, and hopefully all of you are trying to achieve that. It used to be, if you were in a church, you lied to people to tell them what you thought they wanted to hear, and it never really worked, did it? And it's so nice with Reverend Mary Garry to have a sense of who she is and where she is, and always knowing that she is connected with the wonderful lady we're going to hear about of Guadalupe, and she's always connected to God as that part of who she truly is. And I think that's one of the greatest things you can say about somebody. Please welcome Reverend Mary Garry.
Daddy gave me this stole, so I was acknowledging it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm going to get out of your way in just a minute. I got my foot caught on the music stand here.
Don't do that. Okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, good.
I'm so glad to say that.
We're glad to hear you say that.
I'm going to talk here for just a moment, but then you know what I'm going to do, because I can't talk unless I can sing and walk among you and feel your energy and give you my energy, because that just makes the connection more real for me. But I have to tell you, as Daddy said, I'm going to talk to you about Our Lady of Guadalupe. I'm going to tell you the story, which you probably already know, and then I'm going to tell you the story within the story, which you probably don't know, and then I'm going to tell you the lessons that the story brought to me. And I was very worried about it, because, you know, when you're speaking about the lady, you want to get it right. And so I spent a good few hours on Saturday typing up my talk. I had 3 pages of typewritten talk.
Woo.
And I sent it to the printer. And it disappeared. Now, you know, or Corky knows if no one else knows, that unusual things happen to me all the time. So I have my computer set on save every 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes that I type something, it saves it. I went everywhere. I tried every trick I knew. It was not saved. And then I said, well, turn it off and come back on, and then they'll bring up something that you didn't save properly, and there it'll be, tra-la. No, it wasn't.
Oh.
So I said, now, I can either get upset, or I can say they didn't want me to do it that way. They wanted it to be more spontaneous. And so that's what's going to happen today. Now, I have some notes, because some of those words are really hard to say. I can barely speak English, let alone Aztec. And so I wrote it down and tried to get the words right, but we'll come back to all of that. First, I cannot tell a lie. I want your energy. So I have, you're going to help me? You're going to help me? Kathy, will you help me?
Sure.
Annie, you'll help?
April, I would ask you, but I think it might be a problem. It's not a problem? Well, then come up here, my darling. She's the one who taught me this song that just opens my heart every time I sing it. And she's like my spirit daughter. I was there when her firstborn was born. Ah, yes. Oh, I'm so glad. Okay, your job is to open your hearts. And for those of you who might be new, I see most of them are people I know. We come amongst you, all of us, not to give you a blessing from us, to make a blessing connection, to connect with each other with our open hearts and fill the room with the energy that comes when people do that. And so that's what we're going to do as we sing the song. Shall we sing the first? And we'd like you to sing with us. We have the choir today. And so. Okay.
How good
miracle. How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Works for me. So, let's see what we get this morning. The story started because of a confused kerfuffle about the altar. We have a long, we usually plan the altar out a year in advance, and I got a call from Carol Fitzgerald, who does the altar, saying, "Oh, there's nobody for August." I said, "Okay, I'll handle it." And I said, "Gee, I just feel so impulsed to do something about Our Lady of Guadalupe. It's not her month is December." I said, but I just felt so strongly, and I said, well, I'm going to call Dolores and Jim. And I called Dolores and Jim and said, you must have things about Our Lady of Guadalupe. Dolores worked in Mexico for a period, is that correct? Did her spiritual work in Mexico? And she had been to the shrine that we'll talk about. And in the office, we have a certified copy, a photograph of the actual imprints of Our Lady of Guadalupe's face on Juan's tilma. And they said, well, we'd be glad to do that. Actually, we thought we were supposed to do the altar in August. Oh. And then we found out somebody else thought they were supposed to do the flare in August. So the altar that had nobody had everybody.
Yeah,
It worked out all right. But it drove me to my studies about, I have been a devotee of the Mother in all of her faces for a very long time. I love the Mother. I crowned the Mother, I grew up a Catholic, and I lived in a little town, and so it had a mission church, not a regular church. And so they were short on people, so I crowned the Virgin many a time. There were just so many little Catholic girls in this little town, so I got to crown the Virgin lots of times, and I always loved her so. And So I said, oh, okay, I want to really get this right. And so I did some research on her that I had done a while ago, and I remembered the story. The story, probably all of you know the story. You've heard the story, right? Juan Diego, who was an Aztec convert to Christianity. So that's where he got Juan, the name Juan Diego, which is probably the one name I can pronounce. And there weren't very many Aztecs converts. Aztecs were very committed to their own religion and had not had altogether wonderful experiences with the Spanish upon their arrival. What a surprise. And in fact, they had sent a new bishop because things weren't going well in Mexico. And their headquarters was near what's now Mexico City, so that's where they were when this was all taking place. And Zumangara was the bishop. Now that's the Spanish name. Wait till I get to the Aztec names. And he decided when he came that it would help if they just destroyed all of the worship places of the Aztecs. Then they'd be sure and love them and come to them, right?
Sure, that works.
Yeah, it didn't exactly work, you know. And they had abused the. They have two levels of government. This is a little history lesson. The Spanish, in their infinite wisdom, sent over the church to do missionary work, and then sent over the soldiers to control the population, and they were independent of each other. And so, of course, there was human nature being what it was, there was an innate power struggle between the two peoples. And the soldier who was in charge, whose name I didn't even bother to write down, decided that because they were indigenous, they were less than human. How many times have you heard those decisions made? Huh?
Every time.
To justify every rotten thing you ever wanted to do?
Yep.
And so because they were indigenous and they were less than human, why, they could do anything they wanted to them. So they raped the women and treated them like slaves, and, you know, generally treated the way conquering people will treat you. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of the study at Stanford, where they took two groups of college students, split them apart. One group was the prisoner, one group were the police or the jailers. And within a short period of time, the jailers were so mean, even though they had known each other as students, they were friends as students. Something happens to you when you get into that power over other people, that it corrupts your soul, I think. And their souls were certainly corrupted, and they certainly treated the Aztecs very poorly. That's the background story. So Juan Diego was going on a walk in the mountains, and he heard music up on a hill, and he thought, well, that can't be, there's nothing up on that hill. So he went up on the hill, and there was what he first called the lady. So the lady was on the hill, and she gave him some messages, and told him to go to the Archbishop and tell him, hey, there's a new lady in town, and she's got a message for you, you know. And of course the Archbishop, you know, coming from Catholicism, I could understand that the Archbishop is not going to take any redirection from the newly converted peasant, right? So he said, you know, go away. And so he went back and he told her he won't talk to me. She said, no, go tell him again. So the guy said even more vehemently, go away. We're not talking about this. So Juan, as Dottie alluded to in her comments, didn't want to tell that to the mother. So he said, I'll just walk a new way. Well, that was hard for her to figure out, right? And so obviously she found him on the new path. And then she said to him, and I think this is important because we have to remember it. One said, I have to hurry to the other town to get a healer for my uncle. And she said, why didn't you come to me? You just have to ask. Did we have to remember that or not?
Yes,
Yeah.
Why don't you come to me? You just have to ask. Your uncle is healed. Now, she said, go to the top of the mountain and pick the roses. Now this is, if any of you have been to Mexico, there are not many mountaintops full of roses. So he went up there, and there were no rose bushes, but the ground was covered with roses, beautiful roses of many colors. And some of them were Castilian roses, which were Spanish roses that were not introduced at all to Mexico at that time. So she said, bring them down. He put it in his tilma because there was too many of them. That's his cloak. I love it. So I keep looking at Dolores because she had to teach me over and over how to say it right. Today she gave me a little trick and I got it right. Thank you, Dolores. So he comes down with a tilma full of roses, and she opens his cloak and she arranges them. And she says to him, fold your cloak, do not open it until you get in front of the Archbishop. Do not open it. So he said, okay, off he goes to Mexico City, into the cathedral, and was determined, he was inspired or connected to the force at this time. So they let him go into where the Archbishop was, and he was there with the civilian rulers, the military, the guys whose name I didn't write down. So he said, and the people were following him because the scent coming from his tilma was of beautiful roses. You could smell the roses, and some would fall out to the side, and the people were picking up those roses and following them. And so he said, the mother told me to open my cloak to you, and he opened it, and they all gasped, and as I know many of you have heard, her face was imprinted on the cloak. And in the eyes, in her eyes, pupil of her eyes, for many years was an image of the people who had been in the room who saw her eyes who saw it when the cloak opened. I understand that it is not as clear now, but it's been 500 years, and the cloak has been tested and tested. It was not colored with any paint that they were familiar with. They don't understand how it happens because everybody always has to debunk everything, and so they were trying to find a way to explain how this peasant who knew nothing could have painted this perfect image, filled it with roses, that were not available in the country, and run all the way to the bishop's office. So it was easier to do that than it was to simply believe that there was a miracle. So that's a wonderful story, and that cloak is still in the cathedral. What's the name of that cathedral, Dolores?
It's the Basilica.
Basilica.
Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
And that's near Mexico City?
It is in Mexico City, in the north outskirts.
Yes.
And it's a new one now.
Uh-huh.
The old one started sinking to one side, so it's no longer open to the to the public tourism. But where I got the image was the old one, so it's been a long time. Anyway, the whole body was, not just the face. Her whole body was on the image. Yeah, it's a whole body image.
Wow. So the interesting thing about it is that Our Lady of Guadalupe was brown. Our Lady of Guadalupe looked like the indigenous people, not like the bishop from Spain. And that was another message for me. And that says that when the God force wants you, when the God force has come to help you to make that connection, the God force will be as you are to make the connection. Think about that. Sometimes people say, well, how could God be God? How could God look like this and look like that and look like that? God knows what God looks like. Certainly I don't know what God looks like. But the God force wants us to be able to make a connection, and people have a difficulty making a connection to something that doesn't relate to them. So wherever the God force appears, it looks like the people that they're appearing to, so that they can make a better heart connection. Well, there was more than one message that Our Lady gave. The hill that Our Lady appeared on was the place where the Aztecs gods, Tenochtitlan, there's probably nobody here who speaks Aztec, so you won't know how badly I pronounced that, and Huitzilopochtli, who was the Aztec god that was a serpent that demanded human sacrifices. And the Aztecs made 20,000 human sacrifices a year. And the mother, when Juan went to the bishop, the mother went to the uncle, who was also a convert, and appeared to the uncle and said, "Hello." He said, "Who are you?" She said, "I am Mary. I am the merciful mother of God. I'm telling you here, I wish to be called Our Lady of Guadalupe." She said it a lot better, but they threw away my detailed notes. And so she said, "This is going to stop. You tell them being the Aztecs, because remember these were Aztecs before they converted. You tell them that I have come and that I have put my foot on the snake," which is this god that demands human sacrifices, "on the altar where the human sacrifices were." And it said, "There will be no more." And from that moment, there were no more sacrifices by the Aztecs. There were no more human sacrifices. Concurrently with the bishop and the soldier arguing with each other and piddling in Mexico City, millions of Aztecs, and they were bringing in other indigenous tribes, were gathering. They had learned enough about warfare from the Spanish that they thought they could take them. And there were millions of them, and they were all willing to die to take their country back. And upon her word, they stopped. Now you know what would have happened. Those millions of people would have come, and they would have driven off the 2,000 or so Spaniards that had made their thing. 6 of them would have escaped and gotten back to Spain. Spain would have sent 15 armadas with giant guns, and that people would have been destroyed. And I believe that's why she intervened. She intervened to stop the human sacrifices. She intervened to change the heart of the Aztecs, to allow them, so that they could allow change. She certainly wasn't able to protect them and make them the beloved children of Spain. The people who choose to believe that they were less than, the people who said we don't have to pay them the same amount of money, we don't have to allow them to have the same amount of things, they continued. But the indigenous people converted 7 million Aztecs, converted to Christianity within 7 years. Now you would think the church would tout those numbers just because no community that I have known, except the Christians, where it was when Constantine said, okay, we're going to be a Christian country now. They just were Christians because he said so. These people had to convert one at a time, all 7 million of them, and they did. So what does that mean? What lessons do we take from that? How could they, the mother could appear here right now. She won't, I don't think. The mother could appear here right now, and we would want to believe it. But it would be so hard to believe it. Somebody would be in the room with a scientific background that would say, that could have been a hologram. We have things that separate us, and good things, I like my television. I like my bathroom. I like those kind of things that science has brought us by developing new, wonderful things. I don't want to give up science. But what happens with science is that we learn to trust our thinking more than we trust our intuition and our heart. Those people didn't have any of those scientific things. They lived by opening their heart and using their intuition. And I think that that's how indigenous people survived. When you think about it, how do we survive as a race? I mean, that's incredible. That there weren't very many of us. The animals were bigger and stronger and more annoyed. They didn't have any need to be our supper. They weren't looking for a way to offer themselves up to us, but we survived. And if the hunters went out, in those days, the hunters went out asking God to direct them. They went out listening for the voice that said, go here, go there. This is where the buffalo or the elk or the Tyrannosaurus Rex or whatever they were. They were directed because they were connected. Put that in your little box, you know. If you want to be directed, you have to stay connected. Because if you can't be connected to God and to the energy of the divine, it's very hard to get a clear message. The message then comes through all of our filters. I'm a filter. God knows there are probably 15 people in the room who could have given this message better, but I'm the one who they erased the slides, and I'm the one that they said, it's your turn to get up there. So I prayed for that connection, so that I would at least minimize my own beings getting in the way. And so often we need those messages. What makes sense for us? What are we supposed to do next? How is this all supposed to work? Is it the right path? You know that we would not be here if life were not purposeful. Life is purposeful. And our job is to manage ourselves in honesty, to manage our relationships, particularly in honesty. And if we can bloom where we're planted in honesty, stay connected to the energy and let it flow through us and out from us, we can change the world one little place at a time. And best of all, we can end up where we want to be. We can have learned the lesson of this time so that if we come back another time, we won't have to do the same mistakes again. Thank you, God. I mean, I've made more than my share of mistakes, but I have tried to come to the divine with a saying, you know, you knew I wasn't perfect when you sent me. I suppose I signed up, and I call it the ready room. They must get us ready somewhere before we come in, you know. Look down there. Those parents okay? No? Well, maybe I'll learn some lessons. Go anyway. You know, it's who knows how it works. I like to make up stories to keep myself entertained when I can't sleep. And so I say, open your heart. Trust your heart to know what is the right thing. Say, though, that you're trusting your heart. I said last night, I have no idea what you want me to do with this talk. I just have no idea at all. So I'm going to go to bed. I was up, I printed, you know, I have great handouts. I printed a whole thing on the history of, it's called the Awesome Lady of Guadalupe. I have a one-page thing that if you go to our prayer request, you can open up and it'll come out. I have a thing on Kuan Yin. That's another whole story. The mother gods that appear in multiple religions. I had to search last night to test my thesis to find a mother god. I found them everywhere but in Judaism. I had to really dig. And I found a mother god that was pre-Abraham teachings. And I think, you know, when we get up there, we probably should have a word or two with Abraham, because I think he may have shut that down. But it was too complicated to add, you know, to what was going on. So, but there was even a mother god for Judaism. And the mother god says repeatedly, I will stay and help the children. We are the children of God. And the mother god says, the mother god is connected to this world, whether it's Kuan Yin, whether it's the Mother Mary, whoever it is, wherever it is, the mother stays connected to try and help us. Again, that must be a drain on their energy. You know, we don't know how it works, but I know that if God, the God force, were to come in this room, we would probably all be immolated. I think the energy is so huge and powerful that our own body couldn't stand to be around it. Our bodies vibrate You know, this nobody teaches me this. I just make it up. So you can do whatever you want with it. But I think there's some threads of light in this. So look for those threads that suit you. And our being is a body of moving energy. It moves slow enough so we can see each other, interact with each other, have other things happen in our body. But that's what our body is. It's moving energy. And when the spirit comes to us, they have to slow their energy down to get in. God couldn't. I mean, I don't know what God is, but I know it's more energy than the prophets, than Jesus, than Muhammad, than Moses. Those people have higher energy than we do, but lower energy than God. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother to send them in. We couldn't connect with them. But the mothers, or the mother, we don't know which that is either. Whether Kuan Yin and Mary are the same force and they just appear differently in different communities. Could be. She appeared as an indigenous person in the first well-documented appearance here. So they could appear as anybody. The mother could take on any face and still mother. Mother loves a child, whether that child looks like her or not. But the mother can make herself the same as the child so that the child can easily connect with love. Treat ourselves as the child that is opening to connect with love. Treat ourselves to the understanding that no matter how we, quote, grew up or what we had, we are a child of a mother who loves us unconditionally and effectively. Bring that love, that understanding into your life and hold it with you and let it comfort you as it's comforted me. And I thank you for tolerating my unusual presentation, and I hope Dottie lets me talk again.
Well, okay.
I certainly shall. What are you doing in September? I want to add something. When I was at the Basilica, I happened to be there during Lent. And I was there, and I was standing off to the side. And the reason I was standing off the side, because all these people were crawling in on their hands and knees. And what happened, I happened to be there when the Mexican rugby team came in. I don't know where they came from, I don't know how they got together, but they were wearing their jerseys. And it was said that they had crawled 20 miles. Wow. Now that's penance.
The Olympic
That is a belief, too, that what they're doing and why they're doing this is because of the love that they have for the mother. And as they left, I moved over and looked straight on. I hadn't felt anything until I looked straight on, because you don't know this, but it's behind bulletproof glass. And so my feeling was, you're not going to feel a thing. Because I've been where other icons are, and I'd felt something, but I thought, under bulletproof glass. And I came up, and I was looking straight on, and I could feel a visceral feeling of God energy just started from my feet and came all the way up. And my mother said, "What's going on?" I said, "I'm feeling that." She said, "Did you eat pancakes?" When we went to High Mass, when I was Catholic, if I had pancakes before service, I always felt a little wheezy. And I don't think that's what it is. She stood in front, so she moved and took my place, and she said, "Oh, I see what you feel." It's the most amazing thing. You can't describe that holiness of being in that place. And it was so amazing.
Well, one other thing is that we sometimes have day workers help us as we've gotten older, and they're usually Latinos, and they come into my house and I have a big painting of the mother, and I said, "Is that the mother? Is that your mother?" And they always have a picture in their wallet or something, and one of them said, we know about the mother. He said, "We're 70% Catholic, 100% the mother."
So Dolores, when you were there in the Basilica, what did you feel?
Oh, wow.
That answers it.
I've been to both. I went to the old Basilica, and then I went back and visited the new Basilica. Which one did you go to?
This was in 1980.
The new one is very modern. You'd know the difference.
Well, not if I hadn't seen the old one.
The
I
old
don't-
one
I
is
don't
just
remember.
an old, dark, very gothic. You know.
No, this was not Gothic.
No, so you went to the new one. The new one, they took the picture of Our Lady, and it's above the altar. Behind the altar, there's like a, what do you call it, airport walk thing,
Uh-huh.
belt.
Oh, yeah.
Conveyor belt, yeah. A walking belt.
Yeah, well, you people.
Oh, walking sidewalk.
Line up.
Moving sidewalk.
They,
Moving, walking.
you stand on it and it moves. It's constantly, so you get to see it. It's right above you. You walk.
Oh, this might have been the old one, because I can remember I was looking straight on and nothing was moving. Well, not for me anyway, so maybe we didn't get around to the back, I don't know.
Yeah, well, you know, they have certain times when they allow the tourists to go back there.
Oh,
It's very controlled, and you right above it. I mean, it's right above you.
Wow.
So this belt takes you very slowly so that you can see it up close. That couldn't happen in the old one because it was way above.
Right.
So that's pretty amazing. It's hard to
Amazing
describe.
energy,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you get a chance, yeah, we'd love to, please go to these places and feel the energy. You understand the people better if you can feel that energy. Well, now, yes.
Not to take anything away from the feminine aspect, but I was struck when I was watching the Olympics. I was struck at the angle that, at the end of the opening ceremony, the angle that the photo was taken from was from behind the cross, behind.
Oh, wasn't that
Christ.
something? Yes,
And
on the top of the
back
mountain.
there, and it was this amazing image where it felt like there was
There's an essence
connection
there.
between
Yeah.
the welcoming, powerful, etc., up on the top of the mountain, and that. Well, I've actually been there. I've actually stood below that.
Now, in Rio de Janeiro, how high up is that?
Oh, it's really, really high. It's so tall, but it's also really high.
But it's hard to tell from the pictures.
No, it's very, very high, and it's a very narrow piece of rock. But it is very, very tall, and you're far away. And as I recall standing there on a summer day, there was nothing super remarkable. It was more diffuse. But in that particular photo at the end of the opening ceremony, it's the nighttime. The arena is just stunningly beautiful, and then they caught this amazing.
It's fantastic. I'm sure they're going to show it again on TV. The opening ceremony was incredible. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to break this up just a little bit. We're going to take the collection now, because the song that we're going to sing, we're going to be singing with the choir. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Do you mind if we sing with you after?
No, not at all.
Yeah, so let's take the collection, and then that'll be our closing. And what we suggest, since we're going to be singing with the choir, you might want to stand and hold hands. Nothing like messing up the choir, I'm sorry.
Giving to the ministry, from which we receive our spirit.